Good morning. All right, so tonight's the big night, the debate. Hope it happens. Anyway, maybe the markets will be on hold after yesterday's push. There's no real resistance here as you look at the daily chart, but on the hourly chart, we can see these pivot highs up here. And they were able to get through the first level. Started off with a wide range bars igniting off of the low, so not too much of a surprise. And then it got up to the stiffer point, and there it stalled and pulled back a bit. You're still bullish today, TJ. Well, let's see if the market wants to appease you today. It's likely it's going to consolidate here. And so here we just start to reverse the procedures, meaning, on the downside, when we got the wide range bar, we got the breakdown failure there. And so wide range bar, we look at the halfway point. We don't know if there's anything there unless we look intraday. But that's just a reference point that usually works as a place looking at the daily charter, any wide range bar, the time frame you're looking at, as to if it's really weak, it's going to stay below that. So now got the move off of the low, and so what we're looking for now, just kind of take the halfway point there as I'm eyeballing it, and it looks like it kind of lines up with that. Yeah, it does. So that would be what we call minor support. It's beyond what's directly to the left, so we know it's subjective, and there's very little to nothing directly to the left here. But that typically will come into play because traders have been taught to look at that. So you can see that there's a little bit of a reaction right here, and so if it pulls back to there, if it should, we would expect that buyers would, intraday anyway, would look to give it a try for a bounce. And it's been pretty close to the high up here. So I think we're more, historically, we see some kind of consolidation of the gain. And yesterday's push up was accompanied by good breadth. So it was a good move. It kind of gapped up. So you had all of these stocks gapping up, but it didn't deteriorate, at the end of the day. So the closing value was above this high point here. As you could see, it was over here too, and that stopped it. So just having the breadth, reach an extreme like that doesn't mean it's out of the woods, and you had the big extreme to the downside, two of them under this level here. And so then things bottomed, and so we've got this move. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. And we reset that scale. There you go. So now we're up to the zero line where it fell from the last time. To get things of a point of view of this, this low possibly being the low, not that it can't be retested, but should the S&Ps be able to get up to this red line and we see breadth come up above 100, and maybe even, I'd like to see it even better than that, to be thinking that a retest of this low or a pullback into that low, would suggest this being the low of this corrective move. We shall see. We did have not a terrific, I would say, kind of a buy setup there, or a signal from our internals. But I do have these bands that adjust for bullish and bearish markets, and it did come close to the lower band, and we got breadth down here. So I'd really like to see if this can come up to this level, if it should push any higher here. Because what we want to see at a low point historically doesn't happen that often. We want to see when it gets down to a bullish point, usually within, 2 days. Right? So we're already 2 days and it's not there, but usually what I've seen, 2 days, 3 days, it'll go from a bullish level to a bearish level fast. And that just says that the breadth is excellent on that move up. So that's something that we'll want to see occur from the bullish point of view today, tomorrow at the latest. And of course, there is this significant resistance area there. So, and as we talk about retracement levels, right, not fib levels, we don't care about stuff like that. We just simply looking at, well, the decline started here and it stalled there. And this is just common sense. If you're in a downtrend and prices go from a low to a high, that's positive. So there's resistance there, but in a steady downtrend where sellers are in control, typically you don't go from a low to a high. You go from a low halfway, give or take, wherever, somewhere in, halfway, more or less. And then it rolls back over again. And the most bearish ones, it'll just go sideways and then it goes back down. So we shall see. And if you're long, I would say stay the course. At this point, you're in intelligent hope mode is what I call it. That for some unknown reason, other than it, or it's still in a downtrend here. So it could just turn right down here and down it goes, but we don't know. As I say, presidential debate today. Yes, there's other news coming out later in the week, and we'll see what the rest of the week brings. All right, let's go take a look at the other markets. So NQ's almost already back up to the high. Right? They led the way up with the somewhat climactic move to the upside, and then the pullback and the lower low. And just like I said, move started here to the downside, went down here. It's almost back there. That's a positive. We see on the weekly charts that kind of what we call a buy setup, a hook pattern. I don't like this. And meaning it's so close to this prior high that a lot of times it either becomes an M-top, or the other scenario is that it actually makes a lower high. Just getting this drawing thing out here. It actually makes a lower high, and this looks like it's going up, and it winds up doing this. So kind of a bull trap. So some of the things that we'll be looking for as this week unfolds to see what happens with this week and then into next. Just a thought, keep it in mind. It's a pattern that often happens, and it often happens when you have, right, this bar is going to complete tomorrow. That's the monthly. So it was lower. Now it's come up, but you've got an igniting bar. You've got a nice run on the monthly. You've got a wide range bar on the monthly, and this has stalled. Normal. Still in an uptrend. Stalling doesn't mean collapse. It just means stall. It could go sideways for a while. But it does suggest that from this point, the upside is limited. Now, I'm getting a little bit ahead of things here, but hey, you guys are here to learn. Another thing to look for would be a type of a continuation pattern. Can you imagine? Right? And for a continuation pattern, that took out the low. But if we were to get something like that, well, we'll see. But that would suggest some kind of a monster move, but that is so far away from anything that we could conceive at this point. But as we're looking at different scenarios, that's the one. But a break under the September low, and remember, October is supposed to be the crash month. We haven't seen that in a long time. And down below, let's say 10,000 would probably be a bunt from there. So, and then we've got your regular old minor subjective support. So we'll see how it plays out. Right now, for today, I think Probably a little SOH or sitting on hands is probably going to be in order. But maybe the markets will surprise us. YM. Yeah, stalled. You can see the converging moving averages coming together there. Sometimes that is, something that, I look for things sideways. There's really not much there. There's some resistance, but, this is another subjective kind of reference point where people look at moving averages converging together and they look at that as being a stronger reference point of support or resistance. Sometimes it holds true, but I've seen many times over the years where I used to look at something like this, say, oh, 2-3 moving averages together. Well, it should be more resistance or support, and just seeing how prices could blast through that like they're not there opens up the question, is that a valid concept to be considering? Well, if you look to the left, if there's something there, and there's something there intraday where these bars here, these tails are overlapping each other is what was going on here, that mess. But, anything that's subjective is anything that you put on your chart other than price. And so are moving averages. So many times, coming together like that will be viewed as a stronger reference point. And you can see they're kind of almost kissing there on the S&Ps. And let's just take a look at SPX, the cash market. More people looking at that. And they're coming together. The gap up, stalled there at resistance. Just jumping out of sync here that we usually do. Transport survived, breaking through that low here. So that's a positive for the market. Let's see what the next day or so brings here. Always got to look at things objectively. That's how you move along with a bias, whether it's bullish to bearish and vice versa. And, crazy markets, bullish, bearish, bullish, Christmas tree effect. But anyway, downtrend, move into unfilled gap area and coming up into resistance where the sellers are going to be. It's green, but anyway, 20 MA in alignment with that area filling the gap. And futures for the Russell, no gap, but similar story. Down, up, and where. So this is what I was talking about before. Start of the move down, end of the move down, getting all the way back up to where it started to fall, bullish. This is about halfway. Right? This is where sellers should show up and try and knock it back down. But it came off of the low at a wide range bar. So bearish trends can do that. But when sellers are in control, these bullish wide range bars don't get very far. So that's another thing to keep an eye on. And just like I showed you the halfway point, just look at the halfway point on this and just see if it comes down there or not, or whether it stays in the top part here. And a continuation pattern would be similar to what I showed you before on the monthly, but on the daily, you'd see it chop around here, maybe come down, break the lows and come right back up again. That would be bullish price action. And as it unfolds, of course, I will show it to you. Bonds are just dead. And now for about a month, just chopping sideways. Oil just getting sloppy. That's about as far as it typically would go. It's actually went a little bit further than what you would expect coming off of the low here like that. But now it's just chopping around. I'm kind of keeping an eye on this, more or less the indices during the trading day, but this is a kind of an interesting pattern in that the breakdown created a void, and just like oil bottomed out after that nasty drop and came back up again. Maybe gold can do the same and recover from this drop. Maybe it was a victim of the market sell-off at that time. And silver, similar situation. That might look a little bit better. Anyway, I might start keeping an eye on these intraday to see if there's some trades in there. So, all yours, Dan. Can you put SPX up again so I can take a screenshot? Sure thing. There you go. We got the same kind of pullback pattern into support on the weekly, and we'll see how far this gets. Right? Some might call this is where the heavy lifting begins, and I guess tonight will be interesting, regardless. Yeah, exactly, Mark. Oh, all yours, Dan.
All right, thanks. Yeah, what I was just telling somebody in an email, I was asking about, the broader markets, different time frames. I said that I would get more bullish here. I said things are tough here, just reviewed everything you just did. But everyone, if we were to go sideways for 2 weeks, what pattern would this develop into? It'd be a beautiful reverse head and shoulders. Left shoulder, head. We're not 100% retracement, but it's a pretty darn impressive retracement, slicing through this last Wednesday's red bar. So yes, ideally, I would love to go sideways here. Maybe get through some of these debates. Then we're closer to the elections, and see what's going on. For the first time today on the news, the financial news, how we've been talking, and it's just funny how the news puts ideas in people's heads. That's what they do. And then then I'm supposed to be programmed to do this and that. Then, do you remember the talks we had so many times? Oh, Biden gets elected, $4 trillion in taxes, increased regulations, market's going to tank 15%, and then look at this rally. And I was like, wait, what happened to that argument? And it was interesting today, for the first time, at least me personally, for the first time, the media is like they're changing that perception. I heard them say, bat two on, oh well, even if Biden wins, then the increase of stimulative effect of all their spending is going to make up for the negatives, the taxes and regulation. So they're putting the idea in people's heads now. Don't worry about who gets elected. They're like, the market's going to just go up forever because of all the stimulus and the global funds that need to find a home. But today was I smiled. I'm like, you sneaky little media. That it's funny just how they. And the same thing with an individual sector. Now it's remember it was just a couple months ago, anything Corona. Well, talking about that, let's look at some gappers. All our opens are fine. And we're still very bullish, folks. We're not deer in the headlights here. We have 11 open put spread, and we're 100% bullish. We have 11 put spreads in the weekly options trader. We have 13 open bullish positions in the advisory letter. So and they all look fine. So we've been, trading what we talk about. All right, HUSA here, no idea what they do, but it looks like a little penny stock toy. Some of these, I just think of Robinhood traders. They're the classics that get a story in their head and they act like robots. A news item might come across, oh, this company's XYZ, so just, buy it. Fit here, I missed the breakout last week, and now it's gapping up to the prior high, nothing to do there. I'm talking about that. Look at this PLL. It was extended pre-market yesterday. If you were to go back and get rid of this bar, just totally skews the sizing of these bars. But this bar yesterday was vertical up to whatever price that was. And so I had a bearish bias on this thing. It was just a matter of get me on board intraday. Came in, and then I even said this thing can rally 20 more bucks. That's exactly what it did. Went up to 55, but it's a mess. I mean, I would love to sell out of the money calls spread on it. Now beyond I saw on the ticker, so that's a bullish gap over a red bar. The only problem is it's at a prior high. I was looking for a put spread down here. We love the wide range ignitings from support, and there was just not good juice. I loved, trust me. But that's good setup for a day trade. Maybe 30-minute high. 30-minute high. You know, we'll see what it looks like. Yeah, Hilda, I know, the public. Yeah. Hey, do you remember I was telling you about how fake news gets started, this and that? And I told you they had my wrong name in there. And then I told you this Brad Pascal, you know, sad story. The cops came. He's my neighbor, Brad Pascal, the young Trump fundraiser in 16. And when I read the newspaper yesterday, here, the local paper, the police were like, oh, this was the most calm. We went over there and we chatted, had tea together. We had tea. I'm paraphrasing, but they said it was absolutely the most peaceful arrest. It was amazing. And then, yeah, the video comes out where two people are tackling them from behind. And I just shrugged my head in disgust. I'm like, where does this crap come from that ends up in the media? I mean, I'd like to talk to the author of that article and say, what made you put this in words? I mean, all right, sorry for that, but just gets me annoyed. JR's asking about Upworks. Let's take a look. This looks like another penny stock toy, SGLB. It could set up for a day trade if that's your bag of tea. All right, Upwork for JR. Yeah, we talked about this. We talked about this on this day, on 9/23. We talked about it 2 days ago, on which is Friday. We said that this retest of support made the pattern better. So, you know, it's at resistance. I prefer to go sideways another day or two just to burn off steam and make sure it doesn't retrace more than 50% into that WRB, but that would be my approach. PEC, it looks like another penny stock toy, been going on for a while. Look at all these toys here, pre-market. All right, 410. See, the gap's too big. I mean, the gap's off the chart, so that's not my comfort zone. But that's a bullish pre-market chart. So if that's your style of trading intraday patterns, you know, see if you can get a retest. You put this on a 5-minute, put it in a 5-minute chart. Well, that's a bullish pre-market. Big gap, ripped up, came in, wide range igniting right before market open. As long as this 5-minute bar holds strong, that's a bullish pattern, even though for day trading or scalping, even though I wouldn't touch it for a swing because it's up over 100%. John Newman, your drop down. He's asking about Roku. Yeah, Roku's on my list. Yeah, we were looking at that yesterday, actually. But it's a pullback into the WRB, which I like. I like these patterns. So yeah, let's definitely put on the list. I'll put them here. Hello, W. It's not a W bottom, but it's a retest of major support with it's actually 2 retests. This is a big retest of that, and then this is a little retest of this. So, and it has a price void. So yeah, I like that one a lot. I'll put it in a window.